Alright, in this video we're going to be doing the business update for our Pokemon card business. Hi, my name is Josh. I run Monster Moss Studio with my wife Nicole, and it's the beginning of the month, which means it's the end of the month from last month. So for all you in the financial and accounting world, we call this month end. So that means tying up month previous from what the month we're in currently. That means I'm wrapping up February. So we had a busy weekend. I just did a video talking about our last vending adventure. So it was 2 shows last weekend, one on the 28th, one on the 1st. So we have, that makes the booking just a little more complicated because there's just twice as much stuff to do. Plus we're, ending one month and beginning a second month, 2 shows back to back. So, but I did wrap up our books for the month, and I have seen a couple other vendors kind of do a little breakdown of their finances. So I thought I would also share that as well, because I think the numbers are, I guess, not important, but if you watch a lot of PokeTubers and a lot of vendor POVs, I think we see a lot of big numbers. I do, at least. I see big numbers, lots of zeros, and not that it makes me feel intimidated, but it's just kind of like, I can't relate to those because the numbers are too large. So, but I saw another vendor, Jack Sugiri. I'll try and tag him if I can figure that out because I'm an old man. But he kind of broke down the numbers after his first vending show, and those numbers felt a lot more relatable because he's brand new. We're only 3 months in, so yeah, I'll give Jack Sugiri a little shout out if I can figure that out. So we're gonna share some numbers as well from the first 2 months of the year, basically. So I do everything in QuickBooks, so it's pretty, the numbers are the numbers. So, and I think that gauging, the reason why you want to have your books up to date and active is because it gauges the health of your business. So yes, it will be useful when you're filing taxes next year to not have to try and scramble at the end of, or at the beginning of 27 to figure out what you were doing in 26. If you just kind of consistently keep it going, that kind of helps. And as well as if you happen to if there's errors and stuff like that, best to catch them early while your memory is still fresh, as opposed to a year down the line. So it's just better overall to keep those up to date. And so you run your profit and loss, that's your P&L, and then you want to break it down by month. So that kind of gives you your month comparison. So I can tell you that in January we ran over $12,000 in Pokemon sales, and in February we did just over 10. So we actually are down a little bit from January to February, down about $2,000, and mostly that is from sealed product sales. So the singles are almost identical. We sold 5,217 in singles in January, and we sold $5,282 in singles in February. So right now, so what that kind of tells me is doing the amount of card shows that we're doing in the cities that we're doing them will kind of yield about those results of currently how we are doing things. So that could lead me to project out that if we do the same amount of shows in the same kind of areas and with the same level of stock that we currently have, I should see around $5,200 in sales in March. That would be my assumption. So obviously the goal is to, build up the quality of stock, aka getting some higher end cards so we can make some bigger sales, which we are slowly doing. Talked about that in the vendor POV, picking up another expensive Pikachu card, but this one's a Chinese exclusive, so it's not a brand new Pikachu. It's one from the Chinese 151 Journey. So that's an exclusive Pikachu, very, very hard to pull, but it's valued, anywhere between, I would say, $500 to $600 based off of the eBay listings. So Chinese cards are a little bit harder to price because you kind of just have to rely on eBay. So yeah, our sealed product sales were down overall. All the other sales were pretty much the same. So what that kind of tells me is that, well, what happened in February? Ascended Heroes dropped. So it's the new set, everyone's after it. So all the attention is directed there at the moment. So now I would say that the initial wave would be, in a normal set, the initial wave would be everyone's hyped for the new set, and then interest will plateau or kind of decline back down. But because of the staggered release, I think Ascended interest is going to be maintained for quite a while, especially until after the booster bundles drop, which I believe is in April. So I expect actually to see my sales on sealed stuff to potentially have dropped a little bit. The only thing that might actually kind of save it is the Japanese stuff. New sets drop before they do in English. So in March, Ninja Spinner is going to drop. So, and I obviously plan to acquire a good amount of those and start, churning and burning on Ninja Spinner. I think it'll be a good set. It'll be nice and small. Greninja's super popular. Deoxys, it has some half arts in it, and he might get some ARs. We'll see. We don't really know right now, but definitely Greninja is a popular fella, so that should bring some hype for Ninja Spinner, which will be in March. So that'll probably help drive my sealed sales a little bit better. Other than that, I mean, all of my expenses are basically the same. There's nothing too crazy. We actually did spend a little bit less on just straight up ripping packs, which if you run a Pokemon card business, you can definitely buy sealed product to rip for singles. That does count as like a business expense. You just got to make sure you're going to expense it correctly. But the best way to expense sealed stuff, if you're going to rip packs, ripping it as an advertising and promo is probably the easiest way to do it. So basically film yourself and post it somewhere, and you can write that off as a business expense. That's what I would do. Your other option is to do it as part of your COGS and inventory, which I do see a lot of questions about, and I try and answer as best I can. COGS is just, it's not high-end accounting, but it's definitely like mid-tier. It's not basic. It's definitely a little bit more of a complex because it's a little bit abstract. But I can tell you the reason why you want to do COGS, if you can manage it, is like, for example, we had $5,800 in COGS across the board. So that would include singles, merchandise, and sealed stuff. So those three, we had $5,800 in COGS. So what that means is if I had about 10.4K in sales between singles, sealed, and merchandise, and I had 5.8K in singles, merch, and sealed, I reduce my taxable income by that 5.8K. So that's why COGS are important. You don't have to do COGS. You do have to report your sales, but you are not obligated to report COGS. The reason why you want to is that it reduces your taxable income. So, which kind of brings me down to the end, because we have a bunch of other just standard operating expenses, non-operating expenses. So gas, food, what else? Shipping, vendor fees, all that kind of stuff. Those are pretty minimal, but you definitely account for them. But it brought our net income for February to basically just under $3,000 just for February. So hey, third month into vending Pokemon cards, and in the month of February, where our net income was just under $3,000. So obviously all that money just gets reinvested right back in. We're not prepared to do anything or take money out. So yeah, but that if I didn't reduce COGS or use COGS to reduce taxable income, my net income would be 5.8K higher, which is then you get taxed on income. So, but you only get taxed on net income, not gross. So that's why you want to have your gross, you get all your sales, that's your gross income. You get to deduct COGS from that, and that lowers your net income, and your net income becomes your taxable income. So definitely important to, only if you want, only if you want to deal with that. But again, it's gauging the health of the business. So basically I could predict that if we are conservative in our expenses in March, aside from buying obviously products to resell, Ninja Spinner is a really good example. I got a big order from China coming. We are cash basis though, so I already paid for that in February. So all of that stuff, but I do have all this stuff from China coming in today, actually. So, that'll help drive seal sales up as we go into this upcoming weekend. We'll be buying a bunch of Ninja Spinner, restocking stuff, other Japanese boxes, and, just kind of going from there. So I'm hoping that March will be another good month, another solid month. So obviously we only have 2 points of data. Basically January and February are only two data points for 26, but I have seen other vendors talk about the state of the market, Jarchomp, Oyama, and all the PokeTubers who are currently vending are not seeing this decline or this cliff that everybody saw kind of into November and December. Yeah, it revved right back up. That's what I echoed in January, and I can continue to echo now, is the Pokemon market seems fine and seems just as revved up as it did last year. So, but I think 26 will be even better because personally, I like the Mega Block a lot. The whole Mega Evolution, the pull rates are nice, the cards are awesome, the cards are very unique, I think, and the ARs they're dropping are really, really nice. So, Ascended is obviously crazy. Mega Dream in Japanese, we love that set. And Nihil Zero isn't even a bad set. It's a pretty solid set, actually. The difference is that compared to Ascended and Mega Dream, Nihil is just a smaller set, and it's still featuring some popular Pokemon, Clefairy, Meowth, Rowlet, Dedenne, stuff like that. It's just a smaller set, so it's a good one. It's just a good solid set. So I predict that Pokemon will kind of just keep doing that the rest of the year. It'll be B tier sets or better for all of 26. That would be my guess. Ninja Spinner, I guess I'm gonna guess will be an A tier. I think Ascended is S tier, so Mega Dream is S tier. I think Nihil Zero is B tier. I think Ninja Spinner will be A tier. So there's a Darkrai set coming. There's a Rayquaza set coming, and potentially Ruby Sapphire. We'll see. And then that would be what the Rayquaza set is the Ruby Sapphire set. We'll see. And then the 30th. So I think it'll be a good year. And then we know Wind and Waves is coming out in 27. So we have Gen 10 on the horizon going into 27. So yeah, I think obviously I can't foresee the future, but that would be my prediction. And so far my numbers suggest that things are relatively consistent. So we're only 2 months in, so obviously that can definitely change. But as long as we keep card vending going and we keep pumping, the email list, which, yep, we're definitely slowing down on the sign up for that, but we still are trying to pump that and sending out our campaigns. We just sent one out for the pre-order for Ninja Spinner. So if you want Ninja Spinner, we're gonna get some in. So if you want to pre-order it, you won't hurt my feelings. But yeah, I think business is doing really, really well, and I think it'll continue to do well. So yeah, check out monstermodstudios.com if you want any Japanese or Chinese booster boxes. We definitely appreciate it.